Good afternoon, everyone. How's it going? We're about to start another episode of Chá Pedagógico, so please welcome, feel welcome, join us, warn everyone, tell everyone news that Chá Pedagógico is about to start. And today's episode is going to be, I can say, quite unusual because we're going to see how social media and language acquisition work together.
Hey,
Oh, there
hey,
he is.
hey.
This was fast. I think it was the
What
fastest
what's up,
time.
man? Yeah. I was
Yeah.
actually, getting some tea. This one, it was made by my wife. It's actually mint, so thank you very much to my wife. We have a bunch of vases in the balcony nowadays, so we can
Yeah,
actually
sure.
use herbs to cook and make tea, man. Yeah.
All right. All
So let
right.
me
Okay, so I was just telling everyone that this episode is going to be a little bit unusual because, well,
yeah.
if you had the opportunity to join us during the week, actually during last week, yesterday is the first day of the week, but if you had an
Yeah.
opportunity to see our behind the scenes, so you already know that
Yes.
we found or we tried to find some ways to connect social media and
Yep.
how social media works and all these things, everything behind social media, and language
Definitely. Yeah.
acquisition. And we used the Netflix documentary called The Social Dilemma for that. So if you haven't watched
Yeah.
the documentary yet, as soon as this episode's over, log on to your Netflix account and watch this documentary because it's super cool and it's amazing. And again, it's not meant
It
to
is.
scare everyone, okay? That's not a
A little
scary
bit,
one,
man. It's
but
a little bit
uh,
scary.
it's actually a warning. It's actually a
Yeah.
warning. But I
Yeah.
think,
Definitely. Yeah.
and before we start this episode, I know that we only have 60 minutes now. We only have 62 minutes left. Sorry, I'm not good at math, bro. We only have 58
Yeah.
minutes left.
Dude. Okay. Perfect. Yeah. That sounds more like it.
um,
Yeah.
yeah. Let's talk a little bit serious for a while because this
Yeah.
week, actually, from the middle of the week until now, something happened. Something very bad happened involving
Yes.
a Brazilian soccer player called Robinho, and he
Yes.
was
Yeah.
accused, and he was accused, and he was sentenced
Yep.
guilty in the case of sexual abuse in group in Italy and all these things. And here we like to use this platform not just to have this conversation with you guys and with you, Andre,
Yeah.
about neuroscience and linguistics, but this platform is also important to actually um, make a stand. So I think it's important to
Definitely.
make a stand
Most
here.
definitely.
Um, Here in Brazil, we're having a very strange or weird is better than strange. We're
Yeah.
having some weird movements here in which an athlete that expresses herself, a volleyball player, a beach volleyball player,
Yeah.
she expressed herself
Yes.
like LeBron did, like Michael
Yeah.
Jordan did, like many
Dude, the freedom
basketball
of speech,
players
right?
have been doing
Yeah.
in the last uh, 3, 4
Yeah.
months in the United States. They've been expressing
Yeah.
themselves, they've been expressing their political views. So we had a
Yeah.
woman beach volleyball player expressing herself.
And they
And
have
a lot of
every right to
people,
do so, right? Yeah.
yes, everybody has the exact same right
Yeah.
to express themselves. Everybody has the right to express him or herself. She did that.
Yes.
And a lot of people, and actually, I'm not so sure if the Supreme Court is involved into this, but I think it's the Supreme Court, but they're kind of like investigating, putting pressure on her so she can
Yeah.
kind of like, oh no, that's not
Yeah.
what I
People are
meant.
actually retaliating, right?
Yes,
Which,
there's been
because she
a lot
went
of
against the president.
retaliation.
Yeah.
Yes,
Yeah.
but in the case of Robinho, um, that's not that's not an expression. he actually
Yeah.
he actually committed a crime because the Italian tribunal or justice, or I don't know how they call it there,
Yeah.
but he was
Yeah.
sentenced. He's guilty. He was found guilty.
He was to 9
That
years of prison. Yeah.
that is unacceptable. What he did, and every other person that was together with Robinho, everybody involved in this case, that is unacceptable. Andre, I think you froze. I think Andre is going to rejoin us in a while, but that is unacceptable. Are you back? Yes, you're back.
I think I froze a little. Sorry.
No,
Yeah,
but you're back.
I'm
You're
back.
back. That's fine. That's okay. So
Yeah.
that is unacceptable. And we're making a stand
Yes.
here because, yes, that is wrong. He has to pay for whatever he's done. Not only Robinho, but also the other friends of his that were together involved in this case. And the beach volleyball player, she was only expressing her view, her political view. You're back. You're getting back, okay? You're back. You're
Yeah,
back.
I feel like there's something wrong with my connection.
That's okay.
Let's hope it lasts now. Yeah.
I think this had to be said here because, again, I think this is an important platform to tell you guys that we
Definitely.
also make a stand here. We're not just here to talk about linguists. We're not alienated. We're not separate from everything that's been going on.
But yeah, that's true. And I just wanted to add that, this is really important, and we use this platform to talk about things like that. And it's also related to a lot of topics that we cover, especially cognitive biases and even semiotics, right? If you think about the power of speech and meaning and things like that, it sends a terrible message to people out there. It says that, you can commit a crime, a terrible crime. You can destroy the life of a young woman in Italy, and then you can be hired by one of the, the most popular, most famous soccer clubs in Brazil. And that's okay, and that is not okay, And this is very complicated because then people will find a lot of excuses to do something like that are very much at the heart of a cognitive bias. Like they will be completely blinded, about certain things, and then they will choose to hire or not hire on that basis, right? So they're gonna, and this is something that we need to discuss more often. We cannot allow stuff like that to happen because of the mere chance of making a lot of profit from someone just because they were. So again, I asked this question on social media because I was curious about how people view this cancel culture kind of thing. But then there are two cases, I think. There's the case that, maybe somebody said something controversial, maybe somebody offended someone, and then people collectively decide to cancel that person. We cannot buy anything the person sells anymore. We cannot sponsor the person. But then there's the case of somebody who has committed a crime and has been convicted and has raped someone. And then this person needs to be in jail, as simple as that, right?
Yes.
They shouldn't be given come on. They shouldn't be hired by anyone. They have to be in prison because they have done something that is a crime, right?
Yes, he has to pay. He has to, pay for what he's done. Everybody involved has to pay for what he's done. And most importantly, that is a crime that's inexcusable. And the beach volleyball player, she didn't do anything wrong. She was just expressing herself. She has a value. What Robinho probably has done, he's done that because the court has already found him guilty. So what he's done, he has to pay for it.
And the audio messages
that isn't excusable. No, the messages, dude, that's disgusting.
Exactly.
So this had to be said here. So now let's talk about social media, right? So today we're going to find, actually we found ways to make a connection between social media and language acquisition. And then you might be surprised, like, what? You found what?
But
this all started when
connected.
we were, so this all started when I was watching the Netflix documentary called The Social Dilemma. And if you haven't watched
Yeah.
it yet, do so because it's amazing. And then
It is.
as soon as I finished that, I texted you, Andres, saying, "Dude, we have to make something about
Yeah.
this Netflix
Definitely.
documentary."
Yeah.
And then I think we came
Yeah.
up with a very nice and interesting episode for you guys. So I think it's important right now, Andre, to briefly talk about how social media works a little bit, so we can put everybody on the same page, right?
Yeah. So, one of the things that we should start with is that social media has been evolving for a very long time. So when we were doing the behind the scenes, we actually remembered that there was a time we were both on Orkut, right? And then we joined a bunch of weird
not
groups.
me, I'm too young for that.
Yeah, right. But the thing is, what is basically and fundamentally different between when we were on Orkut and nowadays is that what has evolved more than anything else is artificial intelligence, right? And how algorithms have been created. And then when you put people together on a virtual sort of reality so that they can connect with people from all over the world, because there's so much information available, this algorithm will start choosing based on the person's perception and clicks and, profile, what this person will have access to. And then so social media is an amazing advent, of technology and everything. Yeah. It does have amazing potential, but we have to start asking ourselves, about what could actually happen in terms of bad stuff. And we've been seeing the results right now. So social media is really a product of, years of accumulated technology and visionaries who have come together to think, how can we connect people around the world? But then the problem is that there is no one single reality that is shared between or among all the users, because everybody has their own reality, right? And that's the thing about social media, right?
Yes, absolutely correct. Absolutely correct. And let's dive into a little bit into the this algorithms thing. Okay. Of course, none of us here is an expert on this kind of technology. I've read some stuff.
Yeah.
You've probably read some stuff. And guys, if you have something to add, please feel free to type right here. There's
use the comment section.
Here, so use the comment section. All right. So the algorithm is like this. Someone's responsible for designing a specific code. And this code is going to be responsible for analyzing the interactions that we have with social media. Let's use Instagram, for instance. Then every time we tap on it's not like, it's the heart. So every time we tap on the heart icon, or every time we spend some time, even if it's for a second or some seconds, if we spend some time watching a video, even if we don't tap the heart button, this algorithm is going to learn based on how we react, how we interact with this app, in this case, Instagram. And then this algorithm is going to think, for those listening to us on Spotify later on, air quotes again here, think.
Definitely. Air quotes,
okay, so apparently Rudy, in my case here, so Rudy likes basketball, Rudy likes content related to cars, Rudy likes content related to soccer, he likes content related to sports in general, etc., 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 based on on the way I interact. And then this algorithm is going to store this information, and they are going to use this information not against us, but to interact with us, to keep the conversation, and air quotes here again, the conversation going. Because then the algorithm, Instagram in this case, is going to think, okay, so since Rudy likes this content or these things, I'm going to feed him more and more of this kind of content, because then he is going to engage, and we're going to have some sort of conversation, some sort of interaction.
Perfect, perfect.
Okay,
And
it's not
man,
against us. Okay, but we
yeah,
will see.
you
So
mentioned
stay with
something
us
very
because we
important.
will
Like,
see how this can become super negative.
yeah,
Okay, it can go
exactly.
downwards, right? But that's not negative.
But
Okay.
yeah, but again, what is the aim of social media, right? So if you think about it, they want to engage us. So
Yep.
that's what they want. They are actually competing for our attention because social media are sponsored by huge corporations, right? Advert
Mm-hmm.
companies, and so that's why most of the stuff that we use is free, and then air quotes again, because and then
Yes.
if it's free, who is the product, right? That's something that
Yep.
the documentary asks. But then
Yes.
if it needs, so if let's say Instagram or Facebook needs to keep us engaged and actually compete for our attention, the algorithm will find patterns in our behavior through our so clicking. That's why there are cookies everywhere, right? So they actually follow our cursor, our mouse cursor, and they can see, for example, that we stopped a little longer on this image here, right? And that's basic psychology. We actually use eye gaze as a tool to measure whether kids are paying attention to something or not, if they're interested in something or not. So this is actually something that is evidence-based, it's science. And then imagine clicking every day for hours and hours and hours and scrolling and liking and tapping on the hearts. How much data can all those algorithms collect from us and then store
Mm-hmm.
somewhere in the database, and then they can actually predict some behaviors. And that's
Yes.
the part that can be a little scary sometimes. Like, so they know exactly the type of things that will keep me engaged for a little longer, a couple of seconds more, and then suddenly it becomes sort of like a filter. Like, everything else that might not interest me will
Yep.
probably not be on my feed for a very long time, because then
Yes.
they realize that won't interest me, right? And then
Yes.
we have to start discussing, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
And you used a very interesting term here, and that's what I think is the cornerstone between social media and language acquisition: patterns.
Yeah.
So they are going
Yes.
so social media is going to learn our patterns based on our interactions. Now, wait a minute.
Yeah.
Isn't there a specific ability that we develop
Yeah.
based on social interaction, and then we learn the patterns? Oh, wait, yes,
Yes.
language, speech. Okay, so these
Exactly.
algorithms, or the social media, everything involving social media nowadays,
Yeah.
they kind of like try to replicate pretty much how we learn and how we develop our things. And when we develop our speech, or when we learn a language, it's pretty much the same way. We interact,
Exactly.
we pay attention to this interaction, we pay attention to the certain type of behavior. We're going to make this connection between behavior, language, sound patterns, and then we're going to
Yeah.
create behavioral patterns in association with linguistic patterns. What's the language of social
That's
media in this
perfect.
case here? Or behavior. Our behavior is
Yes.
the language that they are going to learn. They transformed our behavior into a subcategory called
Yeah.
algorithms, right? And then we
Yeah.
create, as you said, Andre, sometimes we don't have access to certain types of
Yeah.
information because the
Yep.
algorithm thinks, okay, so Rudy likes basketball, so I'm going to flood his feed with basketball things. So, and
Exactly.
then what's going to happen? I'm going to have a lot of content on basketball. And if I don't pay attention, I'm going to be immersed in some sort of social bubble where everything is about basketball.
Yes.
I mean,
Exactly.
this would be awesome. This,
And you
when
might
I
not
was a
even
kid,
like
this,
everything about basketball.
Yes, and we're
And then
getting
you
into
can,
that.
yeah,
But when I was a kid, this would be like my dream. Like, oh my God! So I'm going to be
yeah,
immersed in a place where everything is all
yeah,
about basketball. So that would be super cool. But nowadays, we're
yes.
just a little bit old, just a little bit, not that much, but we're a little
True,
bit old
true.
today. So we understand that
Yeah,
this may not be completely positive. Why? Because then
yeah.
we can realize that, wait a minute. Actually, we have to realize that, oh, wait a minute. This is about basketball, but that's not very interesting for me.
Exactly.
That's the
Exactly.
point of social media, you know. But
And
before we
man,
get into this kind of reasoning,
yeah,
we have to pay attention. Otherwise, we are going to think that the world is all in my case, in my example, I may think that the
it's
world is all about
all
basketball.
about basketball. Exactly. And you were talking about language acquisition and how algorithms work and they create their own language because they can actually realize or find out patterns based on the things that we do. And if you think about social bubbles, right? So we were talking about being immersed in a sort of alternate reality that was tailor-made, that was specifically designed for us, based on the things that we like and based on the things that we click and how long we spend on a frame on the screen and stuff like that. And then that has a lot to do with how babies learn languages, right? So we know that from very early on that our brains, they take statistics, right? They realize patterns and they make a lot of experiments. Like they realize that this chunk is actually a word because it comes with another word. So very early on, kids will be able to tell the difference between a noun and a verb because they will
Mhm.
realize that nouns are normally accompanied by a determiner like the or
Yep.
like an article, right? And then they will
Mhm.
realize that through shared intention and pointing and stuff like that, what their parents mean. And then they can actually categorize words and chunks in their brains and create patterns, right? But that's something that they need to be exposed to for a very long time so that they create the statistics. And then the thing about us being in a social bubble is that we are going to be more and more increasingly exposed to just a certain reality. So that's going to limit us in many respects. And then what kind of language are we learning then? Or
Yeah.
what kind of, patterns and behaviors are we acquiring if we are not able to detach ourselves from that bubble? I mean,
Yeah.
so at the same time that social media can increase how much we can see of the world, it actually also limits how much we see of the world because of the algorithm. So it's a paradox. And then more and more, we're going to acquire or use the vernacular of certain people inside a certain community. And then maybe we will lose, and I think we are already losing the capacity to talk to people who come from a different community because they have a different reality from ours. And then we can not even have a conversation with those people. And that's where
Yes.
the danger lies, right?
Exactly. And these bubbles that social media creates, um, uh, they are very dangerous. I'm going to use
Keep
myself again
talking.
as an
I have
example
to close the
in
window.
basketball.
Yes.
Oh yeah, go ahead. So so let's use me as an example again because I'm crazy about basketball. I really like basketball. So my feed is going to give me content, is going to provide me with content about basketball all the time. But then remember a couple of minutes ago that I mentioned, oh, maybe this is not something, it's about basketball, but it's not exactly about basketball. So let's suppose that there's a guy wearing basketball jersey, but doesn't, it's not playing basketball. But this guy with a basketball
Yeah.
jersey is making some comments, some extremist comments, for example. So my feed is going to understand, or the algorithm is going to understand that just because that guy is wearing a basketball jersey, like a Michael Jordan jersey, or a Kobe Bryant jersey, or a LeBron jersey, something like that. So the
Chicago
algorithm
Bulls.
is, yes. So they are going to, the algorithm is going to think, oh, so this is basketball. really likes basketball. So let's provide him with this kind of information. And there's a gigantic mosquito flying towards me here. I'll kill it later.
Yeah.
It's getting hot again here, so yeah, it's mosquito
I'm
season.
so glad it's not so hot in Goiânia anymore, man.
Oh,
I'm
man.
actually drinking hot tea now. So.
Oh man, I envy you, dude. So,
Yeah.
so what's going to happen in this case? So I'm going to receive some information about an extremist comment. So
Yeah.
if I don't pay attention to that, I'm going to keep receiving that, and I'm going to be exposed to only this kind of comment, because then, remember, my reaction is what's going to make the algorithm understand and create the language. And then the algorithm is going to think, okay, so Rodolfo spent, I don't know, 5 seconds watching this video. I think he liked this video. So it's not only about basketball, it's also about extremist comments. So then my algorithm is going to start feeding me with extremist comments. The bubbles created. The bubbles created.
That's
here,
it. That's
you know?
it. And we saw that happening, right?
Yes,
in the documentary, right?
Yes, and that's exactly what happens in the documentary. If you watch the documentary, you're going to see that one of the characters is a regular teenager, and then he was, browsing some photos. I think it was on Instagram, if I'm not wrong. He was browsing some photos, and then the algorithm showed him an extremist comment. And then he watched the video, and then the algorithm thought the exact thing that I said. Like, oh, so I think this kid liked the video, so let's show him more of this content. And then, a lot of things happen in this documentary. I'm not going to spoil the documentary here because probably you're going to watch it later, but I'm not going to do that. So if you want to know what happens next, please watch the documentary. But what's important to understand here, what the algorithm is going to try to do, the algorithm is going to try to manipulate us. And when I say manipulate us, I'm not necessarily saying that this is bad. Because when we engage in a conversation, when we interact, we manipulate the mental state of other people. That's the whole point behind pragmatics. Because we want to change, which documentary is this? English.Untitled, The Social Dilemma. That's the name of the documentary. So we manipulate, yes, Andre, thanks, bro. So we manipulate the mental state of other people. Why? For example, if I start talking about cars, and I want to describe my experience at Salão do Automóvel, which is, for those who are not from Brazil, which is a very important car exhibition that we have here. If I want to describe that, I want to make all of you watching us, listening to us right now, I want to create and craft my words so that I can manipulate your mental state so you have maybe a similar mental image as mine. So then we are going to be on the same page. That's how conversations
semiotics work. Again, right? The power of speech, and this has a lot to do with what salespeople do, right? So we have, and again, I'm going to talk about cognitive biases in a second. That has a lot to do with this idea that we can use certain words and discourse to make people do what we want, and maybe they don't even realize that, right? Because it's at a very subconscious level. And you were talking about, no, please, tell me.
No, because this is all about what you just said. It's all about a community of practice. In social linguistics, we have something called community of practice. What's community of practice? A group of people who have the same function, for example. So dentists, I really like to use dentists. When I was taking my master's degree, I wrote an essay on this because they don't refer to teeth as teeth. You know, I don't know the names
Yeah.
of my teeth. You know, I know the canine. You know, that's the only one I know.
Yeah.
I don't know the names of the others.
Molar.
So, yeah, I have no idea, no
Exactly.
clue,
I
not a
don't
clue.
remember the names. Yeah.
So what do?
Yeah.
They divide our mouths into 4 quadrants. And then they
Yeah.
refer to our teeth as numbers. So for example, it's 21, 22, 23, 24, etc.
Yes.
31,
Yeah.
32, 33, 34, etc. So every dentist refers to our teeth the exact same way. What does social media, what
Yeah.
does the algorithm do in this case? They do exactly the same thing. Like, okay, so really likes cars. So, all right, so I'm going to show him photos, for example, Instagram. I'm going to show him photos
Yeah.
of cars and other accounts that really like cars too. And
Exactly.
then
And then you put
I may think
people together.
that yes,
Yep.
and then we're going to be together. That's the whole point of social media and social networks.
Yep.
That's social network.
Exactly.
And then if I don't pay attention, I may think, oh, okay, so this is all about cars. Yep. So the whole car community, everybody involved in the car community loves Ferrari, for example.
Yeah.
No, there are other cars. But what social media is doing
Exactly.
is that the social media, or actually the algorithm, is bonding the accounts that like cars and Ferraris together.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
And that's cognitive
that's
bias.
why, exactly. And before I talk a little bit about bias, I'm actually reading this excellent book by Stanislas Dehaene from Collège de France. And this guy, so he has studied mathematics and statistics and AI and neuroscience. And he says that AI is really far from being able to do what our brains can do in that case. Because, for example, AI needs a lot of data, so big data, to see patterns. So because they don't really have a template like we do. So if AI shows Rudy a lot of cars and puts him in a group with people who love cars, and then we would be able to very quickly as humans see that maybe Rudy likes specific types of cars and not really the whole thing, you know, all types of cars. And we would be able to see that maybe the type of cars that you like, they are much more connected with something else. And then maybe you shouldn't belong to this group, but that AI cannot do that in a very quick and easy way because it requires a lot of data for a very long time. And it sometimes a million or billion entries of data to be able to make this, you know, template, right? So that's why when we prepare AI to play a game against humans like chess or to play something like that, and then you have to enter the algorithms, and then the algorithms were specifically tailored for that kind of game. And this is something that AI cannot do very well. We cannot transfer knowledge to a different domain. And this is something that we can do very well. We can actually, learn something and then apply in a different context, but then that can create a bias. And then to give you guys one example, a bias is when, for some reason, you were not able to decode reality in an optimal way. So it's suboptimal. So the stimuli you were receiving from the environment, maybe there was too much information and you couldn't process quickly enough. Or maybe you didn't have enough information available. Or maybe you were pressed for time. Or maybe you were very strongly emotionally attached to something. And then that, leaned you towards something else, right? And then you made a wrong decision or assumption about reality. And that's a bias. It's when you are blinded, you actually filter. And then the algorithm is also biased. And that's when things start getting a little more dangerous, right? Because the algorithm might show you extremist views. And if you're feeling lonely, if you're feeling rejected, like the guy in the documentary, the teenage guy, because, he saw this girl that he had a crush on talking to other people. No more spoilers. and then you see something a little more extremist that triggers something in your brain. It kind of, releases that rush of dopamine. You feel good, and then you keep clicking, looking for more, it is like Alice in the rabbit hole. You just keep going deeper and deeper and deeper, and then you're screwed basically, because
Yes.
it's brainwashing you, right?
Yes. Actually, I wouldn't say it's brainwashing us, because that's a conversation that the social media is having with us. Again,
Exactly.
This is all about a conversation, and as a it's like using our language. It's what we're doing here. It's when we're developing a language, what we do when we develop a language. Remember a couple of episodes ago, we were the last 2 episodes were all about Paul Howard-Jones' webinar, and we talked a lot about reward system. And when we talk, we use the reward system. We apply the reward system. So, for instance, when a baby is Hannibal.
The reward system, right?
For those listening to us on Spotify, Hannibal is Andres' brain replica. Can I call it a replica? I don't know how to call that.
Yeah, it's almost a life-size replica. I think it's 90% of a normal human brain.
Yeah,
all right. Like that.
So because people who are listening to us on Spotify, they have no idea what the hell is Hannibal. Hannibal is Andres' brain replica that he uses to show everyone where the location of the brain areas, etc. So we use that when we're engaged in a conversation. We use a reward system. Why? Because we want to feel okay. We want to be heard, for instance. So if we want to express ourselves, if a baby wants to express him or herself, the baby feel okay when he or she, the baby's crying, the infant's crying, and then the baby receives food. The baby is going to be like, all right, I like this. So every time I do this, I get my belly full of food. That's cool. That's a reward system in action. And then it's all about conversation and engaging in a conversation. And that's what's going to make the language richer and richer. Because this conversation keeps going, and then the baby is going to learn that it's not just when you cry that you receive food, that when you create some sound patterns, and then the sound pattern, for instance, like mama, this is going to give the baby food, and then the baby is going to expand. Okay, so it's not just for food, it's also for calling the attention of this gigantic woman who may be my mother or not, so that's we never know, but that's what happens. And then the social media is having this kind of conversation with us, and then the social media is using this reward system. It's using that.
They release dopamine, right?
Yes. So that's why we feel so cool when we post something on Instagram. I'm using Instagram a lot. I'm not demonizing Instagram. We're not here to demonize any social media, okay? We're just here to put the cards on the table, So when we post something on Instagram here, we love to see those who liked our photos, or when we post a story,
especially comments.
Yes, the comments. And when we post a story, it's so cool to see, I don't know, 100, 500, 1,000. I don't know how many people watch that, even though we never know if that person or if those people really watched the story from head to toe. But it's nice, like, okay, so 100 and something number of people actually watched what I posted. So we feel all right, okay? So that's the language that we have in social media. And as you said, Andre, it releases dopamine.
Yeah, so like I was showing Hannibal here, so there's a dopaminergic pathway that I've mentioned a couple of times before, and it's something that starts in the center of your brain, in the ventral tegmental area, and it goes and then it normally travels from the center of the brain to the frontal lobe, through the prefrontal cortex, all over the cortex, and then you feel that rush of feel good type of hormone, right? So you feel happy, you feel like you want to do things. And this is what social media does. And then again, we are hardwired for that sort of behavior. We seek, novelty and pleasure and connection with another human being. And now social media has given us unlimited power in that domain, right? We can connect with potentially thousands of people, hundreds of thousands of people, even millions of people. I think there are like almost 3 billion people on Facebook alone nowadays, right? And then that gives us this incredible stage that we can post whatever we do, the things that we like. And then after a couple of minutes...
Don't say that we can post whatever we want, please.
Yeah, we shouldn't, right? But that's the thing. we can, but we shouldn't.
No, we can't. We can't. Go ahead, Jeremy. That was I couldn't let it pass. I'm sorry.
Exactly. So that's the thing, right? Whenever we post something, there will be people interacting, and that gives us that rush of, okay, I've established a new connection with someone. There was a comment, there was a like, and that's good for the brain. And that has a lot to do with, actually the mirror neuron system as well, like the social brain, that we know that the brain is the social organ. So there have been experiments that show that rejection can actually cause real pain, like physical pain in the brain, and even more. And I actually talked about it yesterday. So this area of our brain known as anterior cingulate cortex. So this is the cingulate cortex right here. And the front part, because this is the frontal lobe, it's called anterior. And this is posterior, right? So anterior cingulate cortex has a lot to do with pain, experiencing pain. So when you feel rejected by someone, there was a very stupid, silly experiment, like throwing the ball. So you get 3 people to throw a ball, and then suddenly the person who's being tested on stops receiving the ball. So people reject them and they don't understand what's happening. And then inside their brains, you can see that the anterior cingulate cortex is really active, as if the person was experiencing pain, and they are experiencing pain, right? So you look at the boy in the documentary, he was in pain because he felt rejected, and then he found a community that had extremist views, right? But then he believed those views, and then he felt like he was welcomed by the community, and then he felt like, okay, now I have the sense of belonging, and now I'm producing more dopamine. So he actually replaced the feeling of rejection for something else, and that's again where the danger lies, right?
Yes. And some minutes ago, I mentioned that social media is having this interaction, this conversation with us. If we have the exact same conversation with a baby, if we keep saying for the next 5 years, saying the exact same words, using the exact same structures with a baby, this baby is not going to enrich his or her repertoire. What's going to happen if we keep watching and liking and interacting with the exact same things on social media? We're not going to enrich the repertoire of the algorithm. And then everything is going to be perfect. We're going to live in a perfect bubble, no imperfections whatsoever. And that's a lie. That's a lie. And when we say, oh, I'm very well informed, well, we have to be careful, because if we are exposed to things that make us feel well only, maybe we're not going to be that well informed. We have to see the other side. We have to get out of our comfort zone and see the other side, because again, it's a conversation. The algorithm is learning the language. It's like a baby. We have to make this algorithm enrich the repertoire so that the conversation goes to other directions if we want to. All right?
Yes.
And again, interactions. How many times, Andre, seriously, bro, how many times have we said this year only that our higher thinking order is
higher order
triggered
thinking
by
skills, right?
Yes. How many times
Yeah.
have we said this year that our reasoning is triggered by social interactions? Seriously, how
Oh
many
man,
times?
I've actually lost the count. I think we use
Probably
interaction
one.
at least 4 times every episode. You know,
So I think
probably.
45 gazillion times only this year, the second year of Chá Pedagógico, going to the third year.
Yeah,
We're going to our third year, right?
yeah.
I guess so, right? Holy crap, we're getting old, man.
No, I
I
mean we
guess.
started.
No, no.
Yeah,
19, 20, 2021. Second year. We're going to the second year. Yeah, math is definitely not with me.
second year.
So,
Yeah.
yes. Don't let me do math anymore, okay?
Dude,
if I
you have to work on your math skills.
yes, but anyway,
Yeah.
so social interaction is going to be responsible for the triggering of or reasoning. We create concepts, we enrich our vocabulary, and when I say vocabulary, no, but we enrich our repertoire. When I say repertoire, I'm talking about linguistic repertoire that is going to be associated with or concepts or with our conceptualization. So we do that based on interactions. What does social media do? The same thing.
Exactly.
Instagram is expanding the repertoire that they have about each and every one of us. Each and every one of us. So every time I like something related to linguistics, using a Marcelo Consultoria's account, the algorithm or Instagram is going to learn something new. Like, oh, okay, so I think this is new. He liked something a little bit different from previous likes that he had. Okay, cool. Or when I click on the same thing, it's as if Instagram was like, oh, okay, so we're going to engage in the same conversation again. So we're going to talk about linguistics again. All right. That's okay by me. And that's a problem because Instagram is never going to say no. They're never going to be like, again, really?
Again,
talk about this
you don't need this again, right? Yeah, you've had too much now.
Yes. Yeah. So Instagram is going to generalize the every type of interaction that we have. That's pretty much the same thing we do when we learn a language. We generalize things. So for instance, if we have a baby learning how to speak, and this baby learns the word birdie, this baby automatically is going to try to generalize the use of birdie. And then the baby is going to say something like, look, it's birding, birdie gone, birdie fell, birdie sky. But, but the thing is, when the baby says
experimenting with the language,
when it says it's birding, when the baby says it's birding, the baby doesn't want to say, oh, okay, so there is a verb called to bird. No, the baby is probably going to try to say that the bird is flying. But that's why language and conceptualizations work in tandem. Because the conceptualization of a bird is what? It has wings and it flies. But the baby doesn't know the word to fly yet. So the baby is going to be like, but the baby knows that the ing refers to gerund. So the baby's going to be like, it's birding. Instagram, for instance, Facebook, Pinterest, Twitter, every social media, YouTube as well. They're going to do the exact same thing. So Rudy likes basketball. So I'm going to generalize and show him every single thing related to basketball. Even the videos or the photos that have absolutely nothing to do with basketball, but it's inserted in this category just because there was a guy wearing a basketball pair of shoes or basketball jersey.
The description of the video or photo that has something to do with basketball will show up. And maybe it's something that is unrelated. But then how will the algorithm be able to tell things apart? And that's why our brains are still much more advanced in many respects than algorithms, because we can tell things apart. And then you mentioned something, man, that kept me thinking here about social interaction. So we need to go out there and interact, or even on social media, so that we can increase our repertoire. But what the algorithms are doing now more than ever is that they are limiting the people or the type of people we're interacting with so that we can actually restrict our repertoire more and more, because we're going to get only the views and perspectives of those people. And that's what's happening. Like I gave the example of flat earthers, right? So people who believe that the earth is flat, so they're going to be grouped together based on their likes and their clicks and the videos that they watch. And then given enough time, that's the only thing they will see, right? They will only see stuff that confirms that the earth is flat. And then there's a bias right there. We call it confirmation bias. It's when you look deliberately normally for information that will prove your point of view, and you will reject information that refutes your point of view or minimize information. And then what does that do then? That makes people, like, again, live in their own bubbles, and they cannot even have a conversation with another group. So what we see nowadays is that a person who believes that the earth is flat is so immersed in their own biases that you cannot even talk to that person. You cannot throw, facts or anything that will evidence-based stuff, to make them believe that they're actually wrong. That we have a lot of evidence showing that the planet is a sphere. Not even a sphere, right? There's a name for the type of sphere that we have that I have no idea what it is now.
There's a saying, tell a lie 10,000 times and it automatically instantly becomes a truth. So everybody's saying that the earth is flat. I think it's flat, bro.
Yeah. That's it. And that's exactly what Camila and Anna said. Yeah, we need critical thinking.
You think it's flat? Okay, dude, be whatever it is.
Man,
you think now
live your life.
You think the earth is squared now? Okay, yes, it's a cube now. That's fine. Oh no, it's in the shape of a bottle. Yes, it's in the shape of a bottle. Whatever.
Exactly. But it's like that, man.
Yes, and Anna was Anna who said critical thinking.
Yeah.
Yes, critical thinking is essential here. Yeah. Why? Because it's the same thing that happens when we'll develop our languages. The very first time the baby is exposed to the word birdie or bird, this kid is going to create a stereotype. Okay.
Yes.
Because it's the first contact. So for that baby, every other bird has to be has to have the exact same characteristics as that specific bird. So it must have wings, and then the colors. They have a hard time understanding that, oh no, wait a minute. So this bird's a bit smaller, and it's not blue, and it's yellow, but that's okay, but it has the same characteristics. So they don't do that because they create stereotypes. But again, remember what we talked about pretty much like 30 minutes ago, that the more we engage in conversations, or the more the more we use different linguistic instances with babies, we increase or we expand their repertoire. It's the same, because then the baby or this infant is going to be exposed to different types of birds, and there's going to be a person telling them, oh, that's a bird too.
Yeah.
And then this stereotype automatically is going to become a concept. So so we move from stereotypes to concepts. That's the problem with social media, because if we don't pay attention, we're not going to move from stereotypes to conceptualizations because of critical thinking. So, Camila, I told you, stay with us, because we were going to talk about how to break the shackles of social media. So that's one of the things that they say in the documentary. Unless, for instance, cars, basketball. Okay, so if I'm receiving in my feed things about basketball, videos about basketball, videos of cars, that's fine. It's harmless. But if you like other types of content in social media, don't automatically tap like or tap the heart button. Actually
Yeah.
search, type whatever you want to search. Because if every time we type whatever we want to look for or whatever we want to see in social media, then the algorithm is going to be like, oh, okay, so you don't need me. All right, that's fine. It's up to you. And that's not Rudy telling you this. It's the social media experts in the documentary. So this is how we break the shackles. And how do we break the shackles in language? By talking, by using the language. The more we use
and
the
to
language,
other people, not just the ones in the bubble.
Yes, of course. So
not
the
just
more
people
we use
from our community.
Yes, the more we use the language, the more feedback we're going to have, and the bigger our repertoire is going to be. And social media is going to be the same thing. We're going to improve the repertoire. So use the search box that we have everywhere. They have that. They are offering this opportunity to us. The thing is that,
and
of course, it's more comfortable. Like we don't have to type, we don't have to search. So it's there. I like it. So if it's a harmless thing, that's all right. Basketball, fashion, cars, etc. That's fine.
Definitely.
But if you want to get some more important or deeper content on something more specific, type. Look it up yourself.
Yeah. And maybe you shouldn't use social media to search for good quality content, I mean, you can use it as another.
No. There are very important and good content on social media, like Chá Pedagógico.
No, I mean, but not as your primary tool. Like that's what I'm trying to say. So, for example, I think a peer-reviewed journal definitely has a lot more to offer in academic terms than looking for stuff on social media. So I think they should work together. There's also a problem that I see people canceling others on social media. They're like blocking people. I actually make a point of not doing that, because then I'm limiting my reality. So, if somebody posts something that I don't like, I disagree with, and then sometimes it could be really offensive, I actually make a point of leaving that person in my bubble, because then I will be in contact with what that person thinks. And I feel like this is the real world. We live with people who have completely different ideas, and we can't simply isolate them. I mean, sometimes we don't go to the same event they go to or whatever, or we don't discuss certain things. But I feel like more than ever, we should be able to at least keep all kinds of people in our bubble so that we can actually learn from what they post. And then we cannot restrict ourselves. And then I ask a lot of questions. So if I want to poll people's opinion, I'll just post something. And then what do you guys think? And then people will give me a lot of feedback through comments. And then I realize, whoa, there are actually multiple perspectives on the same thing. And then you start breaking your own biases, right?
Yes.
Like, when you just go, you get something and you go from there and you don't look anywhere else, then you might be getting deeper in the hole, and then maybe you might not come out very safe and sound, I'd say,
Yes. And we have 1 minute and 45 seconds left here. Yes, very hard, Camila, extremely hard. So guys, I'd like to thank you all for joining us in this another episode here of Chá Pedagógico. Thank you so much. I hope you had a great time with us here today. Andre, thank you so much, brother. I think it was amazing, right?
Yeah, I think we did a good job. This is such an important topic that we need to discuss more and more. And I hope that we actually gave people something to reflect on this Sunday before they get to work tomorrow, right?
Yes. So guys, thank you so much. Just a quick reminder, this episode is going to be on IGTV this time here at Marcelo Consultoria, but don't forget, you can also take a look at previous episodes also on Marcelo Consultoria and on EDC Rocks. You can also take a look at previous episodes on YouTube. All you got to do is go to Marcelo Consultoria on YouTube, and also on Spotify. follow us on Spotify as a podcast. Sometimes you're on
Yes.
driving somewhere, you cannot see us, but you can listen to us, right?
You can listen to us, yeah.
Yes. Thank you so much, guys. I hope you had as much a great time as we had. Andre, thank you very much. Have a great week for everyone. Andre,
All right,
thanks,
Ben.
brother.
Thank you very much, Ben. Have a wonderful weekend. See you guys when we see you. I don't know when that will be.
Soon,
Yes.
soon.
Pretty
Bye,
soon,
guys.
pretty soon, yeah. See you.
Bye.